Hi, Brian Sparks here with the first video response to a question. Before I answer the question, which comes from Dave Griffiths in Narborough, Leicestershire, which is in the UK, I just want to tell you one thing, and that is that I've had loads of questions. Thanks for your response, it's been quite amazing. The logistics mean that it's taken me quite a long time to even get round to this first video, but I'm sure you'll bear with me. We've all got a lot of time on our hands at the moment. So I can think of somebody who said, oh, I'll ask this question, probably nobody else has ever asked you this. Please rest assured that loads of people, even if you don't think so, will have had the same question or will relate, hopefully, to the topic and to my answer. So keep those questions coming in. So, Dave. Hi Brian, I hope you're well. I've had many lessons over the years and most have focused on a one-piece takeaway with little or no hand and wrist movement. The resultant swing looks stiff and wooden. I've tried this with very little success. What are your thoughts on this concept, as it seems far removed from the easiest swing method and those of Ernest Jones and de la Torre? Well, Dave, I think you said it yourself. The resultant swing looks stiff and wooden. Well, I want to start off, I'm going to start and finish with a quote. The quote I'm going to start off with, I've read quite extensively Bobby Jones's books, and I think he is wonderful. I think his thoughts on the golf swing are probably more apt to the average golfer today than ever before. Because you've got to differentiate between we human beings and those guys you see on the television. They don't play the same game as us. So Bobby Jones one day was asked about a particular shot, and the guy he was talking to said, oh, so this shot's all in the hands. And Bobby Jones said, no, it's not all in the hands, it's not all in the wrists, it's not all in the arms, it's not all in the legs. He said the whole man is involved. Now, excuse me ladies, that whole person is involved. What a great way of putting that across. So when we swing a golf club, whether it be a putter, whether it be a driver, everything should be playing its part. And there's another quote that I'll finish off with, which will hopefully give you some more information about that. But I want to go back to very simple basics, because my job in this golf game business is to try and cut through everything that's complicated and make it easier. And we experts are usually very good at talking jargon and talking it in a way that we're the only people who can understand it. So let's just think. In my book I talk about golf swing being a throwing movement. We're throwing the object, which is a club, and the idea is through that throwing movement we're going to pick up a ball and sling it somewhere out there. So if we accept the throwing analogy, and I'm sure that Ernest Jones and de la Torre definitely did, then we have to think of how would we throw something. So if I'm going to throw a ball, or if I'm going to throw literally anything, if I'm going to throw a piece of litter in a dustbin, I might do it like that. Well, I'm not going to do that without using my hands and wrists. It's just not possible. So to me, starting off a golf swing with a wooden one-piece takeaway, don't get me wrong, I was trying that 45 years ago to my great detriment. So everything that we do that gets in the way of a natural movement, not only does it make us stiff and wooden, but it also makes us have to think about it because it's not natural. So we end up with lots of advice over a period of time, all going in the same direction, and making us stiff and wooden, and then people say, well, oh, you haven't got a very nice golf swing, have you? Can't be good. And I'll remind you about what I'll come up with his name, just give me a moment. The Art of Golf by Stan Utley. And he said, tension steals your feel and robs you of your talent. So if we've got a one-piece takeaway that's going to make us look stiff and wooden, how can that work? Because to try and play golf without feel, I think I'd prefer to go and do something else, like maybe even clean the windows at home or mow the lawn. I live in an apartment, so I haven't got a lawn. And so I want to give you a little tip now. This is a little thing that I do when I'm coaching, and it's going to be impossible to do here because I'm in self-isolation and I also live alone, so I've got nobody who can come in, because they're going to have to stand within a couple of yards of me. So I'm going to have to, in a lot of these videos, I'm going to be asking you to use your imagination. So let's just imagine that what I'm going to ask you to do, I would ask you, let's just put the ball there, I would be asking you with any club, and in this particular instance I've chosen a putter, and I'm going to ask you to hold the putter up at this height, imagine you're standing up, and I want you to grip it to death. I want your arms and your shoulders as tight as you possibly make, and you'll probably see my expression has already tightened up as well. Then what I do is I come along and I tap a ball on the club head, which you will hear and feel. And then I ask you to go from this very stiff, tense situation to relaxing all of that. And you'll see people's faces relax at the same time. And so now I'm holding it as lightly as I can, and just about enough to stop the club falling to the ground. So then I'll come in again and do that, and then I'll ask you, is there any difference? And a lot of people, the eyes widen, look at surprise on their face and say, well, yes. Well, what changed? Well, the sound changed. Yes, when you're soft, the ball sounds a bit softer, so the sound's different, so there's a little bit more feel, more soft feel of hitting a golf ball, which is those nice sweet shots that we hit. So we get more feel. The club head tends to be a bit more responsive instead of being locked solid. So we actually feel the ball more, because when we relax we haven't got that barrier of tension that our sense of feel for that what's going on in the club head has to operate. So that's a very, very useful thing that you can try at home with somebody obviously to help you, for you to feel the consequences of tension. Anything that blocks your feel for the club head and the ball has obviously got to have an impact, a negative impact, on how well you strike the ball and how consistently you do it. So we call that the feel drill, and we and my coaches use that a lot. Now I'm just going to finish off with this quote, and it comes from somebody else that I've mentioned in my book, recommended this book. It's got a terrible title, unfortunately, because it's called The New Cybernetics Experts. So we're saying things that nobody else knows or understands. The subtitle is The Original Science of Self-Improvement. It's all about self-image. He was a plastic surgeon, Dr. Maxwell Maltz, and this book was written in about the 1960s, and he'd been operating on people for many, many years. And he came to a conclusion, or a realization, that whereas 50% of the people that he operated on would report back an improved quality of life, the other 50% didn't. So he thought, why am I cutting up all these people, giving them their new faces, their new noses, their new whatever, and it's actually not making any difference to them. And he realized that unless he could get to their self-image, which is more of a psychological thing, then nothing was going to happen. So the little bit that I would like to quote you here, and in fact in this book he is quoting the advice that William James, Dean of American Psychologists, gave us years ago if we would but have listened to him. In his little essay, The Gospel of Relaxation, he said that modern man was too tense, too concerned for results, too anxious. This was in 1899. and that there was a better and easier way. When once a decision is reached and execution is the order of the day, dismiss absolutely all responsibility and care about the outcome. Unclamp, in a word, your intellectual and practical machinery and let it run free, and the service it will do you will be twice as good. So we're trying to make impositions on different parts of our body with the idea that the perfect golf swing is actually going to hit perfect shots all the time. It's wrong. We need to learn to trust ourselves and our innate abilities. So this whole idea about stiff wrists, it's like you're being told from a very early time as a golfer not to trust your hands and wrists. Now, I don't know what you think, but I think our hands are the most marvellous tools that could ever have been invented, attached to this neck-top computer, which is also the most powerful computer on earth. So why would we ever want to stop doing that? So Dave, I hope that answers your question. I think, as I said earlier, you asked a question, but you sort of had the answer as well, because you said it looks stiff and wooden, and what's more, it doesn't work. So let yourself go. And if you can explore, let's go a bit too far sometimes. So let's get very loose and wristy and see just how bad it is. Apparently, this is another little quote I heard, only the people who go too far can ever know exactly how far to go. So don't be worried about overdoing something, because in the process you might just learn, oh, that's the limit of that. Because we can be too wristy, but we can certainly be too stiff. So finding the balance, and that's a thing that we all have naturally, and it's called trial and error. I prefer to call that trial and success, but I think you understand what I mean. So Dave, I hope that helps, and I hope there are other people out there have benefited. I will be sending out a message to you when you subscribe to the channel to make sure you get all these videos. It's a red box on YouTube under the video. Press subscribe, you subscribe to my channel, but there's a little bell on the right, and when you click on that it will show you 3 options, and one of those will be to receive information when all of my videos are put on YouTube. So look forward to your comments. You can put comments on the video, or you can always email me comments as well. So I hope that's got us off to a good start, and I look forward to speaking to you in the next couple of days with the next video. Thanks for looking in, and I hope that some of that makes sense to you. Many thanks.